Mr. Pachter, are you crazy? $800 for the PlayStation 5? 800 pieces of cheddar? That's not cheddar, that's American cheese, but it's the only cheese I had. Skip it up and that up. Oh, look, it landed on my seat. So I don't know how this is just making the rounds. I've personally never heard of GameSlice. Doesn't mean they're a bad media company or anything like that. They have over 150,000 subscribers on YouTube. Well, anyway, Jeff Keighley was interviewing Michael Pachter, the games industry analyst from Wedbush Securities, and he asked him to say something wild, make a wild prediction, which Michael Pachter is best known for. And this is the wild prediction he made. He was half kidding, but take a listen.
PlayStation 5,
Yeah.
$800.
Really?
Have you looked at the specs?
Uh-huh.
If they make the mistake they made with PS3 and charge $600 or more,
Right.
they've screwed themselves. So I don't understand it. It's like 50K or something and like 10,000 frames a second. I don't know what it is. It's really fast.
But they're not going to charge $800.
I know. I hope not. But I don't know how you spec that thing out at $300 or $400. I just don't know. So
Maybe they'll surprise you.
They're not going to surprise me at E3, though. We're talking about E3. They dodged E3
Yes.
because they didn't have any good news to tell us.
Not good news. They just didn't have anything probably new to announce, right?
Yeah, but how do you go? You're a business. How do you go a year with nothing to say? That's like us not having this show this year.
Yeah, but part of it's, I think they would say they're probably so far ahead right now with like.
They are.
So
God,
well,
that's. And imagine if you did that with your career. Yeah. You're ahead. You just cruise. Me too. Just take a year off and do nothing. It doesn't work that way. You
so
only get ahead.
Is what you're saying?
Hungry. You got to be hungry always.
So before we get into the pricing of the PlayStation 5 and Michael Pachter's joke and how he, even though it said $800 and he was half kidding, he is afraid that Sony may make the same mistake they made with the PlayStation 3. I kind of sort of agree with him on Sony not being at E3. Look, E3 I still think is losing relevance. I don't care what anybody says. I know people get mad when I say that. I see the comments in the comment section. Oh my God, Rich, E3 is still very relevant. But, you know, your two biggest competitors, granted Nintendo does their own thing, but there's still a presence at E3. Whereas Sony just wasn't there at all. They just crickets chirping. I think it would have been a smart move to show something, especially since your biggest competitor, your biggest conventional competitor, I should say, Microsoft, announced their next-gen system, says it's coming out in fall of 2020. Any rebuttal, Sony? None? Okay. But where I don't agree with Michael Pachter is with the pricing, where he said if they're charging $600, he goes into and say, oh, it's going to be $50K. He's talking about how they're talking about the systems are going to run games in 8K and 120 hertz, and they're going to have Ryzen 3rd gen processors in there, or Zen 2 architecture in there, so on and so forth, and hardware-based ray tracing and all that different stuff. And he says if the PlayStation 5 is $600, they're going to be in the same boat, Sony, as they were in with the PlayStation 3 when they announced it. And that's not true. I don't want to say factually not true, because Lord knows maybe people will gasp and be like, oh my God, $600, even though we just paid $500 for an Xbox One X and a lot of money for a PlayStation 4 Pro, $400 when it first came out. But what you have to understand is inflation. Okay, $600 does not feel how $600 felt in 2006. $600 in 2006, if you look at an inflation calculator, feels close to $762 and change, close to $800. So when Sony announced that the 60 gig, the bigger PlayStation 3 model, was going to be $600, mentally to people that felt like $800. $600 now does not have, especially because we've been conditioned now, like prices on consoles kind of been inching up again, if you've noticed. So, like I said, Xbox One X, when it launched, was $500. People are more used to spending that kind of money. Whereas in 2006, what was the PlayStation 2 when it launched? $299? Yeah, it was $299 when it launched. That's a huge difference in only a few years, too. That's a big jump in only a few years. Whereas just not even 2 years ago, we were conditioned to spend $500 on the Xbox One X. So times have changed. Mike, I'm also happy with the fact, too, that they're making the consoles more premium this time around, because I was underimpressed, and many people were underimpressed with the performance of the launch PS4 and especially the launch Xbox One. I'm willing to invest more money so we have games that perform better, look better, run better, because it helps out the whole gaming community. Even if you're solely a PC gamer, that means that the multi-plat games will look and run better on the PC. And with the hardware-based ray tracing that's going to be on both the next Xbox and PlayStation 5, that means we're going to get more ray tracing in our games, and they'll learn to utilize ray tracing properly, and we'll get better frame rates, so on and so forth. So I don't think if Sony charges $600 for the PlayStation 5, it will be the end of the world. Maybe I'm wrong, and it'll be disastrous, but I just don't think so. I think people are more willing now, especially because $600 doesn't have the same meaning it did in 2006, are more willing to plunk down that kind of money, especially if it means they're going to get a true next-gen experience, not like a PlayStation 3.5 or an Xbox 360.5 like I felt the launch 8th gen consoles were. But I'm sure I'm going to get hate for that as well. This is Rich, Review Tech USA, signing out. Have a good one.